morning, Liberty. How's everybody doing? Oh, it's so good to be with you guys today. Hey, my name is Josh. I get to serve as one of the pastors here. If we may not have happened to have met yet, it has been 3 months since my family came to Liberty this Sunday, and I can tell you, you guys have just made us feel so at home. You guys have made us feel so good and so welcome here. Pastor Greg and Holly, I just want to honor you too. Y'all have become not only just great mentors in ministry, but great friends, and I am so thankful for your investment in me. Don't we love them? Well, I'm so thankful for the chance to get to share with you today. Hey, if you haven't had the chance to meet my family yet, I've got a big one here. I think we got a slide. Yep, there we all are. My lovely wife, Kate. My 4 kids, ages 8 down to 1. There is literally never a dull moment at my house. And Kate and I, we've been married 10 years. We actually met 12 years ago on a blind date on May the 4th. And I can tell you guys, I really needed the force to be with me that day. Because I definitely married way, way out of my league, as I tell all young men I mentor to do. So anyways, hey, we're going to jump in today, and I have a question for everybody. How many of you guys would say that you're pretty handy? You're pretty good at fixing stuff. I mean, I know a few of you. Get your hand up. Paul, you got your hand up? All right. All right, how many of you guys would say, like, if the doorknob breaks, I call the repairman? Okay, nobody wants to admit it. They don't want to admit it. We're not collecting man cards at the door, guys. Come on. Well, I actually would have put myself in the second category for most of my life. But being a non-wealthy suburban dad, I've had to figure a few things out. And fortunately, we live in the age of ChatGPT and YouTube. And you can pull up a video that will show you how to fix almost anything. Well, there was a fateful Monday evening a few years back in my life. And, you know, when you've got small kids, I mean, you just respond to emergencies all the time. Well, it was a moment where there were 2 simultaneous emergencies going on. One of my kids made this massive spill, huge disaster mess in the living room of our house. And at the same time, one of my other little baby boys was in the guest bathroom just pulling toilet paper off the roll, just pulling it off and shoving big wads of it in the toilet. I mean, fortunately, wasn't anything else in there. But anyways, I'm kind of like in that moment, like, what do I do? Well, I get busy cleaning things up in the main room, and I forgot all about the guest bedroom, or guest bathroom, rather. Well, anyways, wake up early the next morning. I go to a Bible study with a bunch of guys Tuesday morning. And about 6:30 a.m., I get this fateful phone call from my wife. And I hear the panic in her voice. And she said, "Josh, come home now. This is bad." You know, my toilet had always had this little run sound that I'm not a plumber. I assumed it wasn't a big deal. Well, I didn't know once it was stopped like that, it would overflow about 10 times in the course of the night. And I came home to find out that it had taken out the flooring in 5 rooms of my house. Well, I go into panic mode immediately. I mean, I'm ripping baseboards off and ripping flooring up and like, oh, this is bad. Insurance doesn't cover stupidity. What do we do? And I got this buddy named Sean, and Sean's pretty good with this kind of stuff. He's actually friends with Paul here today. And I call Sean. I'm like, "Sean, I know you got a flooring company, man. You got to help me out. Like, will you come over and teach me how to fix this?" And Sean said, "Yeah, no problem, Josh, I'll help you out. What's your experience level with power saws?" Never used one. He's like, "All right, we'll start there." So Sean came over and started teaching me and showing me all the little tricks and life hacks for doing flooring. And by the end of that weekend, man, I had it so down to a system I could have started my own flooring company. You know, I think all of us love figuring out the easier way to do things. We love figuring out the tricks, the hacks, the shortcuts, the way to do it better and faster and cheaper. But you know, at the end of the day, there are a lot more significant and important things we care about than learning how to fix things and being competent at that, or learning how to cook the perfect meal, or get our diet right so we finally lose that little bit extra weight we're carrying around, or level up our fitness one level. Most of us really want to live lives of significance and importance. We want to invest ourselves in things that matter. We hope to leave the world just a little bit better than we found it when we came here. We hope to find a love that'll last a lifetime. We want to do all of these things, and we keep showing up, striving, trying to be successful, trying to control outcomes and relationships because we think that success in money or relationships or some area of our lives communicates something about our worth as a human being. And we start these projects that we end up identifying with. Well, we're going to talk about one thing today that you've got to get right to be successful in life. Get this one right, and you've got everything. But don't get it right, and in all reality, you've really got nothing. You ready to hear what it is? That one thing is love. And you can't hack love. You got to put in the work. There's no shortcut. There's no easy way around. Learning how to be a loving person is almost like that moment when you dump a 1,000-piece puzzle on the floor and, there's literally no way to put it back together other than to sit down and put the work in. Well, it's the very same way with love. There's no shortcuts to being great at it, even though it's the one thing we all want. And you know what? We all know that if we want it or going to receive it, we've got to get a little better at giving it too. And that's all well and good till real people and real relationships walk into the room and suddenly it starts to elude us. As a pastor, I have walked with lots of families through difficult circumstances and hard times. I've been with lots of people in the final moments of their lives right before they pass away. And I have never had one person tell me, Josh, I just wish I had another zero at the end of my net worth. Although that would be nice. I've never had a person tell me, I wish I had just worked a few more years before I retired. Or I wish that every day I just spent a little bit more time in the office. No. But universally, without an exception, they all say one thing. They all say, right now, I want to be surrounded by, look how they put it, by my loved ones. I want to be close to the people who love me. Well, there may not be any shortcuts or life hacks for love. It may not be easy, but we're blessed that there's a lot of information about how to love people well in the Bible. And today we are going to look at the most famous passage in the Bible about love. Now, you know what? Whether you've been a Christian for a really long time, or maybe you're a little bit newer to this stuff, maybe someone invited you today, wherever you kind of fall on this faith spectrum, I can still guarantee you've heard this part of the Bible before. It's probably been read at almost every single wedding you've ever been to. I can tell you guys, I've officiated a lot of weddings, and there's almost like a formula here. I show up, you've got those lanterns and those mason jars and those flowers as the settings on every table. You know what? Brides, you've got your wedding colors picked out and coordinated, where all the bridesmaids and groomsmen are all matching and looking good. You've picked out your wedding hashtag so people can post cute pictures of you on social media. And you go to your pastor and you ask him to speak about 1 Corinthians 13. It happens every single time. But I want to let you guys in on a little secret today. 1 Corinthians 13 actually has nothing to do with romantic love. And it has everything to do with why love is the key to true success in life. So we're going to dive right in today. If you want to open your Bibles to 1 Corinthians 13, I'm going to give you guys just a 1 second of background. So, I mean, basically the whole letter of 1 Corinthians is like what to do when you've got a church made up of strong personalities. Like, I mean, they had drama at the church at Corinth. And Paul wrote them this letter to let them know that a lot of ways they were getting off track. And one of the big ways that they had gotten off track was they were comparing themselves to each other. Some people were saying, well, I have this gift. This is what I'm really good at. I'm really successful because I have gift X. And then other guy over here saying, well, I've got gift Y. And that's just so much better than the guy with gift X. Everybody there, and they had a lot of talented, successful people. Everybody there wanted it to be the them show. And what we're reading today is Paul's response to that problem. And I want you to notice right before 1 Corinthians 13 starts, the love chapter, what Paul tells him in 1 Corinthians 12, verse 31. He tells him, hey, listen, guys, let me show you a way of life that's best of all. I know you guys are trying really hard here, but there's a better way than the way you're doing it. And then he jumps in. I'm going to read 1 Corinthians 1 or 13:1. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the right thing to say in every situation, I could speak with the eloquence of a TED Talk or preach like Billy Graham, but I didn't love people. It's just white noise. It's just hot air. He goes on to say, if I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. The word literally means there, I'm worthless. If I had insight into all of the deep things, the deep mysteries of life, the deep questions, the deep things about God in the Bible. But you know what? As I was sharing that, it didn't come from a place of love. I'm actually worthless. It's meaningless. Last, he says, if I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but I don't have love, I gain nothing. If I gave every cent of my net worth to do good for others, and even somehow sacrificed my own body for others, some people do. Work themselves literally into the ground. But my motive in all of that wasn't love. I failed. I've got a 0% return on my investment. And Paul's hitting at the key discovery we made a minute or two ago that if we don't live a life of love, if we aren't motivated by love, we've missed the boat. I don't know if any of you guys have ever invested a lot of time in a project only to see it fail. I don't know. Every time I drive down to Orlando and go to the big box IKEA and pick up their furniture, I mean, it looks so great in the store. But I get home to put it together, and I mean, they don't give you good instructions. They give you pictures, and they're bad pictures. And I get about like 40 minutes into the project and realize I've taken a whole chunk of it and put it on the wrong side, and I got to take the whole thing apart and start over. And we laugh at it because, in that scenario, you lost 45 minutes of your life. But many of us have experienced the feeling of investing years in a project or a business or a ministry, only to see it one day fail and come apart. Some of us have invested decades in a marriage or a relationship, only to see it end in divorce. Maybe you've got a kid who you love the best you imperfectly could over the long haul. But now you're in a place where that relationship is strained. And it hurts because these projects and these relationships become a part of who we are. sometimes we don't know who we are apart from those things. Well, Paul's hitting at a key truth here that I'm gonna put on the board in an easy way for you guys to remember. Here it is. Here it comes. Here it comes. Here we go. Yes. You can do it all, but without love, it means nothing. Can we say it together? Come on. You can do it all, but without love, it means nothing. Well, I bet some of us are kind of like at a crossroads turning point right now. You're realizing, you know what, there's an area of my life where I really am more motivated by success or money or something else and not love. Well, if that's you right now, that was certainly me as I was studying this week. Paul is about to help us out here. He's about to put us on the bus and take us to love rehab. And he's going to give us, there's nothing like kind of like seeing everything that's wrong with you all in one place. He's going to give us 15 characteristics of what real love is like. And we're going to hop into this. 1 Corinthians 13, we're going to look at verses 4 through 8 here. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Love never fails. Now, I want you to notice something about, we're actually going to put this list up here on the board. I want you to notice something about every characteristic of love, Paul said here. None of these are feelings. They're not things we feel. They're all actions. They're things we do. And maybe even better put, they are reactions. They are how a loving person reacts when they're under stress or pressure or going through things that are hard. So let's do a quick breakdown of this list. Paul starts off, and tells us two things love is. Love is patient. I always, as soon as I read that, I feel like, oh man, we're getting off to a really bad start here. Love is kind. The Greek word literally means mild. Well, all of us are pretty mild, pretty chill till we get stressed out, right? Several things love does not do. Love does not envy. It doesn't boast. It doesn't make itself the most important person in the room. It doesn't dishonor others. The word here literally means it's not rude. It doesn't delight in evil. Have you ever found out that something bad happened to that guy that you really didn't like? Didn't it feel like just a little bit good? Come on, you can admit that. It does, because we delight in evil sometimes. Two things love does. It keeps no record of wrongs. That guy that really hurt you, it lets it go. It rejoices with the truth. Love doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. Sometimes you stand up and use your voice to speak the truth and speak for what's right, even when it's really hard. Love always protects. It always trusts, and it always hopes. The word protects literally means cover with honor. It doesn't gossip and destroy the reputation of someone else. There's one that's not up here, but we got to bring it up because this is a big one. Love is not easily angered. How about that one? Now, when you see someone get easily angered, come on, you got to know this is true. When that guy cuts you off on I-4, it communicates deep truths to you about that person's life. Oh my gosh, that must be a horrible person. He must have mommy and daddy issues. There's no telling the trauma he's been through, the terrible things going on in his life. We have no grace for people when they act out towards us. But when you're stressed or you're triggered, you get that text message. You see that news article or that post, or someone you love, rubs you the wrong way and triggers you. We've got all the grace in the world for ourselves, don't we? Oh man, if you knew the pressure I was under right now and how hard I was working, I just snapped, but that wasn't really me. We've got so much grace for ourselves. All right, love always protects, trusts, hopes, believes the best for the relationship. And finally, love never fails. All right, let's pause here for a moment. I've got a question for you. Does the bar here seem really high? If the bar feels really high right now, can I let you in on a little secret? It's because it is. It is. Love never fails, but we fail all the time and get it wrong over and over and over and over again. We blow it all the time. We're just not that good. And if you've been alive on the planet any amount of time, you've experienced the consequences of someone not loving you the way that you really deserve to be loved. And if you've been alive any amount of time, you have also failed to love someone in your life the way that they really deserve for you to love them. And I think one of the reasons we struggle with love so much is we're not aware just how afraid of it we actually are. We're afraid of love. We're afraid of vulnerability. We're afraid to get too close to people. We feel like we've got to protect ourselves. You know what? If I choose to be patient and kind, I might get taken advantage of. Yeah, you might. If I choose to not be self-seeking and proud and boastful, I might get passed up by someone else. Yeah, you might. If I choose to forgive someone who's done me really wrong, I may not be able to pull up that data and use it against them in the future. You won't. If I choose to open up to someone and show them who I really am and share with them what's really going on in my life, rather than showing me compassion and meeting me right where I am, they may decide to hurt me or even worse, betray me. Yeah, scary, isn't it? Most of us live our lives how afraid we really are to love others. It's so much easier to settle for success, money, power. So much easier to try to control people in relationships than really love them. Love never fails, but we fail and we get it wrong all the time. Well, that's the bad news. But Paul's about to very cryptically share with us some very good news. I want to share the last verse of our chapter with you. But before I do, I want to give you a principle. This is the principle that's being hit home here. Let's look at it here. Love isn't our duty. It never could be. We can't live up to its standard. But through Jesus, love is our destiny. So our chapter ends, the last verse of 1 Corinthians 13 tells us, and now three things remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Well, why is love the most important one? Because the day's coming when we won't need faith and hope anymore. One day, we'll be in heaven, and as big and important as those things are here on earth, once we're in heaven, we know how the play ends. We've got the final answer. And faith and hope won't be important anymore. So many of the things we make such a big deal of in this life and invest so much of ourselves in and make really big, one day will be really small in the kingdom of heaven. But love, God's love, will reign forever. And we get glimpses of that in this life. Here's why God's love is the most powerful, greatest force in the entire universe. Scripture tells us that God himself is love. And when God looked down at our world and saw the mess that you and I made of it, made of our relationships, the mistakes we made, the ways we failed, the ways we got it wrong, the sins we committed, he didn't choose to give up on us or turn away from us. No, as a perfectly loving person, he said, I love them, and I want to be near and close to them. And so I'm going to go rescue them. I'm going to go help them. And he entered our world. He became a person, a little baby named Jesus. And 33 years later, when Jesus got up on a cross and shed his blood and gave his life, he wasn't doing it for anything he did wrong. He was doing it to forgive us of all of our sins, give us a second chance, give us a new life, and invite us to live with him forever in heaven. We may fail, but love never fails. God doesn't fail. We get glimpses of that here and there in this life. I was thinking this week about a woman named Cheryl who I met a few years back. And Cheryl had been very successful in this life. She's made a lot of money, done well for herself, retired well, and planned to really just enjoy her life for a long time. But it didn't work out that way because she had numerous health issues in retirement. And by her mid-70s, she was on regular kidney dialysis, had kidney disease, and she had reached a point where she was just in and out of the hospital a lot. And she never married or had kids, but she told her sister and brother-in-law, guys, I don't think I want to move forward. I think I'm just going to get off dialysis and go into hospice care. Well, what complicated it one step further was Cheryl was an atheist. She had no beliefs about what was next for her. In fact, she thought this was the it. I'm just going to give up. And her brother and sister-in-law begged her, Cheryl, would you talk to somebody? Would you talk to a counselor? Would you maybe talk to a pastor from our church? And she said, you know what? I guess I will. So Cheryl was in the hospital in Tampa. I was in Orlando, but her brother and sister-in-law came to me, asked me if I would call her. And we had a wonderful phone conversation for about an hour. And she opened up to me about so many things. I was just, blessed that she would be willing to share so freely with somebody she didn't really know. And I'll never forget one of the things she said. She said, Josh, I realize that I've invested most of my life in the wrong things. I put projects over people. I was really successful in my career, but I didn't invest in relationships. And here I am, I'm very lonely now. And she went on to talk about her atheism and her doubts about God and her doubts about the Bible and why bad things happen in the world and why she was going through what she was going through. And I shared with her the same thing I've told so many people. I don't know exactly why, Cheryl, but I believe this with every fiber of my being that Jesus is right there with you right now. He loves you, and I say that because 2,000 years ago, he chose to love you and chose to come close to you. If you were the only person alive, he would have gotten on that cross just for you. Well, we wrapped up our phone call. I was blessed that Cheryl gave me the chance to pray with her, even though she didn't believe what I believe. And about a week later, her brother-in-law and sister came up to me at church and they said, Josh, we are so excited. Cheryl has invited Jesus into her heart and asked him to be her Savior. She's decided to go back on dialysis because whatever time she has left, whatever that looks like, she wants to live it fully to the glory of God. And she can't wait to come up here to Orlando and meet you at church in a couple of weeks. As we wrap up today, I bet there's two groups of people in this room that can on some level identify with Cheryl. Some of you would say, just like her, Josh, I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus. I've followed him for a long time. But I'm in a moment in my life where I know I am not directed by love in the way I should. 85% of the energy I'm putting out there in life right now is all about success, projects, things for me. It's not really about love. Maybe there's a specific relationship in your life right now that comes to mind where things are really hard and where you're really broken and hurting. If that's you today, can I let you in on a little truth? Hurting people hurt people, but loved people love people. And the key isn't to go out and try harder to be more loving. The key is to step back and get in the presence of God yourself. Experience his love for you Because when he fills you with his love, you'll be in a position where you can really give it to others. Remember, you can do it all, but without love, it means nothing. All right, there's a second group of people in here who might be able to identify with Cheryl. Um, Maybe you believe in God, or maybe you don't, but you don't have a personal relationship with him yet. You know, as I talk about Jesus and talk about the cross and the relationship that he wants to have with you, if you were honest with yourself, you're just not there yet. Maybe you know a lot about God. Maybe you've come to church for a while or even a long time. Maybe you've been baptized before, but it's never really been real to you. Can I just let you know the same thing I told her? If you were the only person alive, Jesus would have gone to that cross just for you because he loves you. He wants you, and he's calling you home today. And if that's you, if you're ready to say yes to Jesus and say, Jesus, I've been doing things my way for a while. I want to do things your way now. I'm going to lead you in a prayer in just a moment. And I'm going to ask if we could all stand, actually. Let's stand. And with every head bowed and every eye closed, I'm actually going to ask you to do something bold. If this is your moment where you want to say yes to Jesus, you're ready to begin a relationship with him, you want it to be real and personal to you, would you just raise your hand with me right now? Just raise your hand. Yeah. Thanks so much for that. Thanks so much for that. Pray a prayer right now, and you can, in the quietness of your seat, pray along with me. Dear God, thank you for loving me so much that you sent your only son, Jesus, to die for my sins. I believe Jesus is alive and listening to me right now. I know I'm a sinner, but with your help, I want to turn from my sins and do things your way as best I can and follow you. Please come into my life and help me to follow you all the days of my life. It's in Jesus' name I pray.